My family believed I was a resource, not a person. They thought I would finance their good time, clean up their messes, and then quietly thank them for the privilege. They were about to receive a masterclass in consequences, delivered directly from my laptop to their stolen suite on the high seas. For my entire adult life, my name has been Chloe, but my job title has been the manager. I manage crises. When my sister Madison maxes out another credit card on a wellness retreat she can't afford, I'm the one who gets the frantic call for a loan. When my brother Nathan gets into a fender bender and needs his insurance deductible covered, I'm the one who quietly transfers the funds. And when Thanksgiving dinner teeters on the brink of all-out war because of some 30-year-old grudge, I'm the one who smoothly changes the subject and offers to do the dishes. This role was assigned to me the moment my first bi-weekly paycheck hit my bank account. My life was a series of emergency drills for other people's poor planning, leaving no time or energy for myself. After more than a decade of this one-sided arrangement, I decided it was my turn. I planned the vacation to end all vacations, a 7-night voyage through the Caribbean, sailing out of Fort Lauderdale on one of those magnificent floating cities. This wasn't just a trip, it was my declaration of self-worth. For nearly a year, planning this escape was my secret life. I lurked on cruise forums, built elaborate spreadsheets comparing shore excursions, and watched countless YouTube tours of staterooms. I finally splurged on a cabin with its own private balcony, an indulgence I obsessed over. I imagined myself wrapped in a hotel robe, sipping hot coffee as the sun rose over an endless expanse of turquoise water. To ensure a truly stress-free experience, I prepaid for absolutely everything. The premium beverage package, a snorkeling trip with sea turtles in St. Thomas, and a reservation for 2 at the ship's exclusive steakhouse, one for me and one for the book I planned to read. It was my money, my time, my reward. The evening before my flight to Florida, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from Mom. I answered, bracing myself for the usual low-grade drama. What I got was a Category 5 hurricane of manufactured panic. "Chloe, thank God," she gasped, her voice tight with theatrical distress. "It's your sister, Madison. She took a tumble down the basement stairs. She's all right, I think, but she's so shaken up and she's just asking for you. Your father and I are with her, but you know how she gets. Please, honey, can you just come over? We need you." Of course, the family paramedic was being summoned. My brain instantly shifted into problem-solving mode. I grabbed my car keys, my mind already running through a checklist of what to do for a possible concussion. I drove the 30 minutes to my parents' suburban home, walked through the always unlocked front door, and froze in the hallway. My mother Karen, my father Robert, my sister Madison, and my brother Nathan were all camped out on the living room sofas. There were no paramedics, no ice packs, no signs of distress, just the glow of a football game on their giant television, a huge bowl of buttery popcorn, and an atmosphere of such profound, lazy normalcy that it felt like a slap in the face. Madison looked up from scrolling on her phone. "Oh hey, Chloe," she mumbled, her tone utterly devoid of someone who had just supposedly fallen down a flight of stairs. I stood there, my coat still on, the genuine concern that had propelled me across town curdling into a knot of ice in my stomach. The fall? The basement stairs? What happened? My mother, Karen, had the grace to look momentarily guilty before her default setting of smugness took over. She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, that! It was nothing. She just tripped over a laundry basket. It's all fine. We wanted to have a little family get-together before you left. A surprise going-away party." A surprise party. They had fabricated a medical emergency, lied to my face, and manipulated me into abandoning my final preparations for a party that involved them watching sports while I was expected to just sit there. A small, persistent alarm bell was ringing in the back of my mind, but years of conditioning taught me to ignore it. I chalked it up to my mother's typical brand of selfish, clumsy affection. I stayed for an hour, feigned appreciation, and drove home seething, shaking my head at their gall. I should have seen it for what it was. It wasn't a party, it was a brilliantly executed diversion. The next morning, I woke up not to my alarm, but to the heavy, oppressive silence of my apartment. Sunlight was streaming through my bedroom window at an angle that screamed it was late, catastrophically late. I lunged for my phone on the nightstand. My heart didn't just drop, it plummeted. It was 10:45 in the morning. My flight to Fort Lauderdale had departed almost 3 hours ago. A dizzying wave of nausea washed over me. I had a series of missed calls from the airline. Frantically, I checked my phone's settings. The volume was off. The ringer had been switched to silent. I never ever silenced my phone overnight. Then I looked at my digital alarm clock on the bedside table. The alarm, which I had meticulously set for 5 in the morning, was now set for 11. My blood ran cold. Someone had been in my apartment. Someone had deliberately sabotaged my trip. My hands trembled as I dialed my mother, my voice a choked whisper of disbelief and a building, volcanic rage. "Mom, I missed my flight. Someone was in my apartment. They changed all my alarms." There was a long, chilling pause on the other end of the line. Then her voice, like poison poured over ice, slid into my ear. "Oh, darling, don't you worry about a single thing. We just couldn't let such a beautiful trip go to waste." The line went quiet for a second, but it wasn't an empty silence. Through the phone, I could faintly hear the unmistakable cry of a seagull and the deep, resonant blast of a ship's horn. My world tilted on its axis. "What?" I whispered, the word barely escaping my lips. "What do you mean, we?" "Well," she said, her voice now impossibly cheerful, as if she were commenting on the weather. "Madison and Nathan are just so much more relaxed with all the airport stuff. And since your tickets were all digital and we have the same last name, it was a breeze. We're just pulling away from the port. The view from your balcony is absolutely breathtaking. You picked a wonderful room, sweetie." I couldn't get a breath. It felt like the air had been stolen from my lungs. They hadn't just made me miss my vacation, they had stolen it. While I was at their house, distracted by their pathetic manufactured crisis, one of them had used the spare key I'd given them for emergencies to sneak into my home and systematically dismantle my morning. While I slept, my own siblings had used my boarding passes, my passport information I'd sent for the cruise manifest, and my dream, and had simply become me. And my parents, the people who were supposed to protect me, had orchestrated the entire vile scheme. "Why?" I finally managed to croak, the single word carrying the weight of a lifetime of being their safety net. "Chloe, honey, you work so much," my mother cooed, her voice dripping with a false sympathy that made my skin crawl. "You're always so stressed out. We thought you deserved a real break at home where you can properly relax without all the fuss of traveling. This way you get to rest and we get to have a lovely family vacation. We're really doing this for you." A family vacation funded by me, without me. The staggering, galactic level audacity of it felt like a physical blow. All the years of being their bank, their therapist, their 24-hour crisis hotline, it all led to this ultimate betrayal. And in that moment, something inside me didn't just crack, it vaporized. The reliable, responsible, ever-patient Chloe was gone. In her place stood a woman who had just been handed a personal declaration of war. My response wouldn't be loud or emotional. It would be quiet, precise, and financially annihilating. I sat in the deafening silence of my apartment. The shock slowly receded, replaced by a cold, sharp, diamond-hard clarity. They didn't see me as a daughter or a sister. They saw me as a utility. An endless line of credit with a heartbeat. They had made a critical error. They forgot that the person who signs the checks is the one holding all the power. I opened my laptop. My name was on every reservation. My credit card was linked to every single onboard account. I was the ghost in their vacation machine, and I was about to start pulling levers. First, the cruise itself. I found the customer service line for the cruise company. After a brief hold, a polite agent answered, "Thank you for calling. How can I help you today?" "Hello," I said, my voice steady and professional. "I need to report a security issue with an active booking. The reservation is under Chloe Miller." I gave her the booking number. I calmly explained that due to a sudden and severe personal emergency, the unauthorized individuals currently occupying my stateroom needed to conclude their voyage at the very next port of call, which my obsessive research told me was Nassau, Bahamas. The agent was understandably confused, noting the ship had just left port. "I understand this is unusual," I said, "but it's imperative. Please terminate the cruise for my stateroom, effective upon arrival in Nassau. Furthermore, and this is the most important part, you need to immediately suspend all onboard charging privileges linked to my account." That was the kill shot. Every pina colada, every souvenir shot glass, every hand of blackjack would now be met with ease. The cold, firm, "I'm sorry, this account has been suspended." Next, the excursions. I had booked a day of pure bliss in St. Thomas, a private catamaran charter to a secluded cove. It took less than 2 minutes. I logged into the tour operator's website, cited the unforeseen cancellation of my travel plans, and received a full refund to my credit card almost instantly. The final piece of my initial counteroffensive was their journey home. After all, their stolen week of fun would eventually end, and they would need to get back from Fort Lauderdale. I logged into my Delta Airlines account, found the 4 return tickets, and moved my cursor over the cancel flight button. A confirmation box popped up asking if I was sure. A slow, grim smile spread across my face. I had never been more certain of anything in my life. The flight credit was immediately returned to my account under my name for my future use. The fallout began about 6 hours later. A text from Madison. "Hey, my room key stopped working. They said at guest services there's an issue with our reservation and we all have to go see the ship's bursa. Can you call the cruise line and fix it?" Then a message from my brother, Nathan. "Chloe, what did you do? They just cut me off at the bar. They said the drink package is cancelled and there is already a huge bill that needs to be settled in cash before we can even get off the ship in Nassau tomorrow." And then the main event, my mother. Her first call went directly to voicemail. The message she left was not worried or confused. It was pure, unadulterated fury. "Chloe Miller, you call me back this instant. What is the meaning of this? You are ruining this vacation. The concierge just informed us that our stateroom has been reassigned from Nassau onward and that we are being disembarked. This is childish and spiteful, and you are ruining it for everyone." I let her next dozen calls go unanswered. I read their increasingly panicked group texts, a symphony of dawning horror. I pictured them on my ship, in my stateroom, the luxurious fantasy I had built for myself now collapsing around them into a humiliating and expensive disaster of their own making. I let them marinate in that dread for the rest of the day. Later that evening, a call came from a restricted number. I answered. It was my father. His voice, unlike the others, was quiet and laced with shame. "Chloe," he began. "Honey, they were wrong. I told your mother this was a terrible, horrible idea, but you know how she gets when she and the kids cook up one of their schemes. I am so sorry that I didn't stop it." He sighed, a deep, weary sound. "But they are falling apart here. We're going to be put ashore in the Bahamas tomorrow with no money, no hotel, and no way to pay for anything. Please, can you just help us figure out a way home?" For a split second, a flicker of the old Chloe surfaced, a pang of pity. He sounded genuinely remorseful. But then I remembered all the years he stood by silently while my mother and siblings used me as their personal ATM and emotional punching bag. His regret was a day late and a dream vacation short. This was about more than just a cruise. This was about a lifetime of being treated like an appliance. "Dad," I said, my voice flat and empty of all emotion, "if you're truly sorry, then you can be the one to fix this. You're the father, you're the husband, you figure it out. I am not your concierge, I am not your travel agent, and as of today, I am no longer your bank. This is your emergency, you manage it." I hung up. The tone of the messages from my mother and siblings shifted from rage to a desperate, syrupy sweetness. They were so sorry. They made a mistake. They just wanted to come home. They still didn't get it. They thought if they apologized enough, I would cave and fix it, just like I always did. Then, one last text came through from my father. It wasn't another plea, it was a warning. "You should check your credit card statement from Fort Lauderdale." My heart hammered against my ribs. With trembling fingers, I opened my banking app. My stomach twisted. It wasn't just the prepaid cruise charges. There were new ones, transactions from the port gift shops, and then the charge that stole my breath, $5,250 from a high-end jewelry boutique located on the ship's main promenade. They hadn't just stolen my vacation, they had used my credit card information stored in the cruise line's app to go on a shopping spree, assuming I was too much of a doormat to ever notice or care. This was no longer a family squabble. This was no longer about petty revenge. This was credit card fraud, a felony. The cold fury I'd felt before now blazed into a white-hot inferno. They thought I had gone too far? They had no idea. They had just armed me with everything I needed to bring the hammer down. My first call was to the fraud department of my credit card company. "Hello?" I said to the agent, my voice now eerily calm. I need to report several fraudulent charges on my account. My card information has been compromised and used for purchases in Florida and on a cruise ship. I explained that I was at my home in Chicago and could provide location data and work emails to prove it. The agent was incredibly efficient. Within minutes, my card was cancelled, a new one was on its way, and an official fraud investigation was launched. Every single charge they made, from the overpriced margaritas to the gaudy diamond tennis bracelet, was now flagged as criminal activity and was being reversed. This meant the security hold the cruise line had on my card would vanish. The jeweler would be out over $5,000 and would be looking for the person on their ship who had the bracelet. The cruise line would now be actively pursuing them for the entire onboard bill. The debt was no longer a line item on my statement. It was a legal problem and it was all theirs. My phone lit up with calls from blocked numbers. They were stranded in Nassau, broke, and in a complete meltdown. I ignored them all until a call came through from a number I didn't recognize. It was my mother, her voice tinny, probably from a payphone. I decided to answer. I wanted to hear it. She was sobbing, a pathetic theatrical wail. Chloe, we are so sorry. We learned our lesson, I swear. You have to help us. The motel we found threw us out because the card was declined. We're at the airport, but they won't even sell us new tickets because of some fraud alert attached to our names. We're stranded, Chloe. We have no money and nowhere to go. I let her entire performance play out. When she was finally done, sputtering for breath, I let the silence hang in the air. Mom, I said, my voice as sharp and sterile as a surgeon's scalpel. You didn't just steal my vacation. You committed multiple felonies. Do you understand what that means? You used my identity and my credit card to steal thousands of dollars. I have filed an official fraud report. There is an active investigation. That means the police could be involved. Every dollar you spent is being clawed back. Every cent of debt you racked up on that ship is now yours, and you will have to pay for it. The crying stopped as if a faucet had been turned off. It was replaced by a stammering, genuine fear. What are you saying? You can't do that to us. You're tearing this family apart. I let out a short, harsh laugh. No, I said, a profound sense of peace washing over me. You tore this family apart the moment you decided I was more valuable as a bank than as your daughter. You made this five-star bed. Now you get to lie in it. I hung up the phone and was met with a beautiful, glorious silence. A week later, my father texted me that they had made it home. It had cost them a fortune. They'd had to beg my aunt for a high-interest loan and sell Madison's new bracelet for a fraction of its price just to afford 4 last-minute one-way tickets from Nassau. He said my mother, brother, and sister were treating him like a traitor for even contacting me. When they returned, they treated me like I was invisible. That was the greatest gift they had ever given me. Their silence was golden. My father, however, came to my apartment a month later. He apologized face to face, no excuses. He looked exhausted. He handed me an envelope with $3,000 in cash, a first installment, he called it. He said he knew I might never forgive them, but that he was going to spend the rest of his life trying to earn back my trust. I accepted his apology and the money. I told him things would never go back to the way they were, and they haven't. I am no longer the manager. I am no longer on call. My relationship with my father is slowly healing, built on a new foundation of respect instead of obligation. My aunt told me that my mother tried to plan another family vacation a few months ago. This time they had to pay their own way. They ended up at a budget motel a few hours from home. I hear the continental breakfast just didn't compare to the Lido deck buffet. They made their choice the day they decided my dream was theirs for the taking, and in doing so, they set me free.